I am so excited to have you on the Empowered Career Woman podcast, Kendra. Please welcome yourself and tell the folks on the podcast who you are. And I again, thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. But go ahead, introduce yourself, my friend.
Well, first of all, it is my pleasure to be here on the podcast. Anything to empower women is always something I am excited about doing and down to do. My name is Kendra Lewis. I am what's called a notary loan signing agent in the state of Texas. And so I know a lot of you guys may not have any clue what that is. So I'm gonna break it down to the basics. So first of all, I'm self-employed. I'm an independent contractor. I have my own business, and I have been doing this since 2007. So I've been full-time self-employed, paying all the bills, being self-employed since 2007. A notary loan signing agent is first and foremost a notary public. So I'm commissioned by my state. I'm in the state of Texas. And then loan signing agents have additional training and knowledge to walk people who are doing real estate transactions through their documents. So some of you guys who have purchased a home, refinanced a home, sold a home, or any property, you may have used a loan signing agent. Instead of going into the title office or the attorney's office, they sent a notary out to you. And that notary is a notary loan signing agent, which is what I do. And I also have had the pleasure since 2020 of also training and mentoring other people who have been interested in being self-employed notary loan signing agents as well. So that's me, and that's what I do.
I love it. As you know, Kendra, this podcast is about empowered career women. And when I thought about different people that I wanted to interview for this year in 2025, you are one of the first people that came up. And if you guys don't know, Kendra and I met over 20 years ago. I cannot believe it, girl. I just can't believe how
We look
fast.
good though, girl. We look
Oh,
good.
yes. Oh, yes. This is our year. This is our year for sure. And I have to say that, from the very beginning when I met Kendra, we worked at a bank back then. She was so I love the attention to detail that she has, and I mean full circle to what she's doing right now. I absolutely love that you've taken something that you are so good at and really your true gift and building it into your business. And so can you talk about this entrepreneurship journey? Because I know you were working in a corporate environment before, and I know of a lot of people who are kind of stuck in this place where they want to leave corporate America, but they're afraid to. And walk us through what was that, that point of where you said, I think I'm going to make that change in my life.
Now, I first want to say, we're kind of programmed in this country to be employees
Mm.
and not really seek out entrepreneurship. When you think about it, from the time that we're in school, we're programmed to be employees. You're programmed to show up at a certain time. You're programmed to complete certain assignments. You're giving grades, which is your pay. If you don't do well enough, they write you up. Like, we're taught to be good little employees from day one. So there's always I'll say a little bit, but usually more than a little bit of trepidation when you think about going from being an employee to some sort of an entrepreneur, to being off on your own. Because again, we're kind of taught from the beginning that that's not a safe thing, that it's kind of a dangerous thing. So I want to first say that at the time that I did leave from being an employee and making that decision to be an entrepreneur, I absolutely felt fear,
Yeah.
because a lot of people think that the people who make the decision to be entrepreneurs have some sort of magic inside of them that causes them to not feel fear. And that is absolutely not the case. Usually the outside forces force you to get over that fear. So I kind of want to preface my story with that. But as Kathy said, I worked with her at a major banking institution. The division that we worked at together did a lot of personal loans and personal credit. I switched over from that division to their mortgage division. So I actually started off as a mortgage loan officer, which is basically like a sales position. I really don't like doing sales, so I wasn't crazy about that. So then I switched over to processing of the loans, and processors just basically take the information and they make sure that everything is ordered and all the details are done, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But there were management positions that had come up in the branch where I was working. Again, at this point, I'd already had several years of experience with this company, several years of experience in my position, bachelor's degree, everything that was required to move up to the next position. But as I'm sure a lot of the ladies who will be watching this podcast have gone through, I got passed over for those positions. So the first time it happened, trying to be a good little corporate person, I'm talking to my supervisor. What can I do to improve? What metrics do I need to hit to be worthy of this position the next time it comes open? So I worked with my supervisor for like the next year and a half. After that, another position came open and they gave it away to some man who literally just graduated from college. So, I'm not going to say he wasn't worthy of the position. I will say that I had as much education as he had, along with years of experience in the company, which would have made me the better choice, but I didn't get it. And again, I'm sure a lot of the ladies who are watching this have felt something similar to happen to them.
Yeah.
And I was just done. I was frustrated. I was, even though I was working full time, I wasn't making the amount of money that I wanted to make. Mortgage and a lot of stuff in the finance industry is very stressful. It's a lot of goals to meet, a lot of deadlines that you have to meet. If you miss it by a penny, your bosses are having a fit. So it's already a very stressful position. So, I just made a decision that I'm going to go find something else to do. I'm tired of trying to play this game and be worthy of what corporate says is deserving of being promoted. And I'm going to do my own thing. Now, this happened in 2007. And I don't know if you guys remember what happened in 2007, but we had a whole mortgage crash in 2007.
Yeah, we sure did.
We had a whole mortgage crash in 2007. And initially, my thought was that I was going to go out and be a contract processor. So basically, what I was doing for the company that I was working with, I was going to become an independent contractor and do it for independent mortgage brokers. So I marched into my boss's office to let him know that I was going to be leaving and the reasons why I was leaving. And he basically looked me in my face and said that I was crazy for thinking that I was going to be able to be successful on my own. He let me know that the industry was in upheaval right now and that I was not going to succeed, and basically telling me that I was going to be begging for my job back and that it wasn't going to be there. Now, I'm sure a lot of you ladies are like me. Don't tell me what I ain't gonna do.
Yes. Yes.
If anything, that motivated me more to be successful. But at that point, it was still just this is what I want to do. So I went out, I used the contacts that I had in the business to start processing on a contract basis. But that still didn't feel right. And it still was not going to allow me to reach the financial goals that I wanted and the freedom goals that I wanted. Because after about 7 years of working in corporate America, I was like, I'm over this, this 9 to 5 thing. I'm over it. And so, I was still kind of frustrated because it didn't feel right. Well, I had a friend at the time, a young lady who owned her own title company in Austin. I didn't tell you guys, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. Austin, Texas is about an hour away. And she actually had a lot of high profile clients in San Antonio, i.e. Spurs players, big money people. And as they are buying and selling real estate, they're the kind of people, they don't want to go into an office. They want everyone to come to them. And honestly, they got the money to afford it. So she asked me as a favor to meet with these clients to do their loan closings. And again, I had the background, the mortgage knowledge, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, sure. So I went out, I met with some of her clients. I did her loan signings for her. Again, that eye for detail. I made made sure everything was perfect, and got them back to her just fine. But then, we're talking and I was expressing my frustrations
Mhm.
over, my business future, my financial future, all that stuff. And she was like, why don't you just do loan signings full time? And there was a look of confusion on my face, like, that's a job? Like, people other than you will pay me to do this? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And so I did a little bit of research. Like I said, I'd already done a few for her. And then I went out there. I started marketing for business. I started, doing the other things in the industry that you can do to get your name out there. And fast forward 18 years, still
Wow.
here, still here. And the most important thing, like I said, it was able to help me meet my financial goals. I don't live in a mansion, but my house is paid off. I've been able to pay off my house way before my 30-year mortgage. I drive a paid off car. I do not have any debt. I have one credit card that I use for points. So I can travel using those points. That thing gets paid off every month. So I live basically a debt-free life. And the thing I've always told people is when you don't have debts, you have freedom. So
Yeah.
I literally work as much or as little as I want. I just need to work a little bit to pay those ongoing bills like electricity and cell phone and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I chill and relax at this point of my business career. And again, that's something that I would not have been able to do if I had stayed in corporate America. So that's what.
I love that. And the fact of the matter is, because a lot of my listeners, they're looking at your success story, and obviously that is like hashtag career goals, hashtag debt free. You know, Folks want to get to that space, but
Mhm.
you worked hard
Oh yeah.
to get to that place. And I love what you said, literally going out when things were in disarray, even in 2007, when the market crashed in 2008. I mean, my God, we bought a house in 2008.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what did we do?
What
I
are we
had no
doing?
idea. But you, you push through, and that's okay. And then,
And if I can insert
mhm,
one of the things that I love to tell people, because people, they get afraid. Again, fear is a huge thing. And
yeah,
they get afraid when things are not normal and like when the market's not normal. And
yeah,
why are you doing mortgage stuff when mortgage stuff seems like it's crazy? The thing we also have to remember and realize is that times of change and upheaval are awesome times of opportunity. When you
yes,
look at some of the rich families in our country from, 100 years ago, they got their start in the Great Depression. They got their start in market crashes. They got their start in times when things were in upheaval.
yeah,
So when things are not at its best, again, even though I know fear is a real thing, you have to look at it and go, even though this time looks scary,
mhm,
this may be the perfect time for me to get in. Because what happened for me in 2007, and part of the reason why I was able to get so much business and be so successful, is a lot of signing agents were getting out of the business
wow,
because they were afraid of what
mhm,
was going on in the market.
yeah,
And so that left a vacuum of space. Companies that were used to having signing agents no longer had them. So when I approached them to market to them, they were like, oh my God, yes, we need somebody because the person that we were using is no longer here. So, ladies, do not be afraid of times of change and upheaval. That may be a blessing in disguise for you.
absolutely. Because this is where I was going with my thought process was in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
once again, when COVID hit, everybody
Mm-hmm.
was just in fear. Not a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, businesses were closing, and there was just a lot of unknown.
Mm-hmm.
That is your best year. Talk about that. Let's talk
Yeah.
about how you thrived even through that change and that scary time in the world.
Yeah. So I will say I was fortunate in being in the right industry at the time that COVID happened, because I know that despite a lot of people's drive and want to work and willingness to work, there were simply some industries that were not thriving in that time.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, when COVID hit, I was freaked out. Everything, we remember, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And my whole job was going out and meeting with people, but now everything is shut down. So like everybody else, I was sitting around going, what am I going to do? Well, a couple of things happened. A few months before COVID, obviously, I didn't know COVID was coming, but a few months before COVID, I had actually started my signing agent training program. I had people for years asking me to train them and mentor them on how to become a signing agent. And so I finally took the time to create an actual training program to teach people how to do it. So when COVID hit, everybody was looking for a way to become self-employed. And so my signing agent training program became very active because it was a way that people could learn how to be self-employed and go out and get their own business and make money separate from their corporate job. The second thing that happened is, and you guys probably remember, interest rates dropped to ridiculous, historic, we'll probably never see it again, all-time lows. So
We got our house at
there you go. That's it.
25.
That was the perfect time to buy or refinance. And guess what, Kathy? Everybody thought what you guys were thinking.
Yeah.
Interest rates are so low. We have to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
So mortgage companies and title companies and builders became super busy because these transactions still needed to get closed. And even though online notarization is a thing, I tell people a lot of mortgage transactions are not done using online notarization. Mortgage companies know that paper works. They trust paper. They don't quite trust this online notarization thing. So they still require that these closings take place in person. So a couple of things happened to me. One of the things that happened is one of the title companies that I worked with, they got a directive from their higher ups saying, hey, we need to close these deals because we want to make money, but we don't want our staff to risk their lives by meeting with people. So hire somebody who's willing to risk their life to meet with people. And I was like, you know what? I volunteer as I volunteer. Now, I also want to give a little side note because this is one of the things I always love to remind people is my life is a little different than a lot of people's lives. I understand this. I am single. I do not have a spouse. I do not have children. So there was nobody else really counting on me. And I also did not have the same worry that a lot of people might have had about going out when COVID was an unknown and then possibly coming home with, a sickness that people were not aware of. So I do want to put that caveat out there because I don't, again, want people to think that I'm some superhuman, amazing person. Like everybody else,
Well,
I
aren't
looked at the
you?
risk and I might be. I got the little hair like Storm, but superheroes are supposed to keep their alter egos quiet. Okay. But no, I just want to be realistic to the people who are watching who have other things in their lives that I don't have. So I didn't have those things. Sure. And I was like, you know what? I'm willing to go out and risk it. And I'm just gonna say I won't give a dollar amount, but I'm gonna say it was well worth the risk. 2020 was the year I was able to pay my house off. Let me put it that way.
That's amazing.
The amount of money that I made was outstanding. And like I said, and I also worked with a builder at the time. The builder was closing homes like crazy. So not only was I able to, make a life-altering amount of money for myself, I had so much business that I was able to subcontract out to other people. So I was able to give other ladies, because nothing wrong with men. I think I did have one or two guys, but I do have a preference. I like working with ladies. I was able to assist a few other ladies and also making life-altering money in 2020 as well. So that was another year where there was upheaval, where a lot of people would have thought of it as woe is me, there's nothing I can do, when you just have to do a little bit of a mindset shift and say, what can I do in this time to position myself to make an amazing life change? And truth be told, we're probably going to go through a change like that here this year or the next few years. So again, we can't live in fear. We have to look at whatever is going on and say to ourselves, how can I position myself to benefit in this time, even though it is a challenging time? So, yep.
So inspiring. Oh my gosh, Kendra. And I love the fact that regardless of what, the situation, I know you were saying, you're not like every single person out there didn't have a family to go to, but it takes work to go out and build yourself and your business, your brand. And talk to us about like the power of networking, because clearly you can't just close a bit, close one deal had you not spoken with somebody else. And maybe you did such a great job that they may have referred you to another, client or whatnot. Talk to us about that power of networking.
Networking is key, especially in the, I mean, in any industry, but especially in the mortgage and real estate industry. And one thing about mortgage and real estate is it is still very old school. People want to talk face to face,
Mhm.
and they will refer people to other people. And when you think about it, you've probably done the same thing. So any of you out there who have purchased a home, you probably asked your friends, "Oh, do you have a real estate agent? Who do you use?" Like we would rather use a referral from someone that we know versus just randomly Googling somebody. You
That's
know,
right.
if you went to refinance your mortgage, you probably asked friends and family, have you refinanced? Who did you use? Was it a good experience?
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing when you are starting and running your business. Even if you're not in the real estate industry, networking is always key. But again, I'm in the real estate industry, so I talk more specifically about what networking is like here. And this is another area where we've kind of gotten spoiled. We love our computers. We want to just send an email or a DM or a text message. And we expect people to just go, yes, from your one text message, I'm going to send you all of my business. And it doesn't generally work like that. You've got to go out, you got to meet with people face to face. You
Yeah.
have to build, I say just build friendships. The
Yeah.
thing that I teach to my students in my training course is don't think about it as networking, don't think about it as marketing, because those words sound foreign and they sound a little bit different or difficult.
Yeah.
I always just say go out and try to make friends with people who are in whatever industry it is that you are in. Because here's the reality: friends send friends business. We
Yes.
all give business to people that we know, people that we like, and people that we feel like us back. And so I never go out when I'm networking or marketing with this mindset of, hi, I'm Kendra Lewis, a signing agent. Do you have any signings to send me today? Because I'm only interested in doing signings and making money. Like that's usually the last thing that I bring up if I ever even bring it up. I'm more interested in talking to that person, getting to know that person. And then, when I go back, because you need to touch base with people more than once, there's nothing that makes a person feel better than them knowing that you remembered what you spoke with about them the
Yeah.
last time that you spoke. And one of my, secret sauce kind of things to building friendships and making relationships is finding something to either compliment that person on or something that you have in common or, something like that. So, I tell people all the time, I am not a dog person. I don't hate dogs, but I don't love dogs. I don't have no dog. But every person that I network with who has a dog thinks that I love dogs. So that's what I want to do. Let me talk about your dog because people love their pets, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Fifi. Oh my gosh, Fifi is the cutest little Pomeranian I have ever seen, and ask things about it. And I've had somebody tell me, "Oh yeah, well I've got her take her to the vet next week." And then I followed up with that person 2 or 3 weeks later. And literally the first thing I asked them was, how's Fifi? I know you had to take her to the vet last week because I took notes. I don't remember these things. I write them down.
That's
And that person
amazing.
was so amazed that
Yeah.
I remembered their dog, So little things like that. And I promise you, it was not long after that that she started basically searching to find what business she could give to me. It wasn't me begging for the business. It
Yes.
was her going, I like you. I know I got something in here, some business in here that I can give to you. And then the next step from that is to do an excellent job. Because if you do an excellent or above average job and the person likes you, I promise you they are going to keep sending you business. You've got everything they want. So why wouldn't they?
Mhm. You know, a lot of folks, they're listening to your story and it's like, wow, she was able to overcome even through the toughest times. And you and I didn't talk about that, but I know that you've had times of stress and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to go do next? How am I going to do this? What if well, I remember even with the builder that you had worked with at one
Mhm.
point, there was a whole situation with that. How did you mentally overcome some of the challenges, especially as an entrepreneur?
So it's a few things. First, be aware that challenges are going to come, right? Like all of us live life. I would love to say that every day of my life has been rainbows and roses and a Disney movie and birds have come chirping down and deer have come prancing out of the woods. They haven't, right? We
Wow.
all experience times of ups and downs in just regular life. So it's going to be the same thing in your business. So I think that if you first of all remind yourself that me reaching a time of difficulty in my business is just normal. It'll help you to not freak out because freaking out it never helps. The next thing I always try to do, I am a planner, right? So I always, before things happen, try to have a plan.
Mm.
If such and such happens, this is what I want to do or what I can do. As a notary, I don't have to just do loan signings. There's a lot of other things that I can do. I can do general notary work. Now I can do online notarizations. I can be an apostille agent. So there's other things that I can do. They're not my favorite things to do. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not my favorite things to do, but I do have those options. So knowing already in your plan what other options you have will help you when times come and difficult times happen. You don't have to freak out as much because you're like, you know what? I can do X, Y, and Z. And then the specific story with the builder that I worked with. And again, we all kind of get into these comfort zones, either in corporate business or in our entrepreneurial business. I had worked with this builder at that time for about 10 years, I think.
Wow.
And the person who was the area manager over most of the Texas area, I had known him for the full 10 years.
Mm.
I have known him since he was a salesperson, and he had now basically gone up to almost VP level in the Texas area. So I've known him for years. My bad, when I first started working with them as a new entrepreneur, I undervalued my services. I underpriced my
Mm.
services. And that's what a
Wow.
lot of new people unfortunately do. Well, 10 years later, other signing agents that they were working with who were not as good as me were getting paid more than I was getting paid. And so I basically sent the gentleman who was the area manager. It was end of the year, so perfect time to make this request. I sent him an email basically saying, hey, I enjoy working with you guys, but I do need to increase my price so that I am at the same price level as everyone else that you hire to do this job. Well,
Mhm.
again, as we've all had happen before, regardless of whether we are qualified or not, regardless of whether we have the experience or not, sometimes when we go to request the income that matches our level of experience and service, sometimes we're told no. And that's what happened. He told me in businessese, no. He was like, no, that does not align with our company's core values. It does not align with our profitability. And then he gave me a soft business threat. He then
Oh,
said, you know what? I think maybe we'll just start using some other signing agents. And I was like, oh. Hmm.
oh
Now,
my,
again, I had been with them for 10 years. I had honestly kind of stepped away from my own rule of what having another plan.
yeah.
So I was a little taken aback when it happened,
Yeah.
but I valued myself. I valued my business. I know what I bring to the table, and I was not going to allow him to devalue my services. And ladies, I don't want y'all to let anybody out there. I don't care if you're a new entrepreneur or a veteran entrepreneur. You know what you bring to the table. Don't let anyone out there devalue your service. So I was basically like, you know what? That's fine. You can go off and try other people. Now I knew that he was going to come crawling back because I'm better than them, but I'm going to let you, I can't use all the words. What's it? FAFO. I'm going to let you go around and find out. So we're going to segue back. That's when COVID hit. That's when I started working with that one title company, making a ridiculous amount of money. And it was right at that time that he magically realized how wonderful myself and my team were. And he was like, hey, you know, if you can come back, we'd appreciate it. I'm willing to pay you that particular amount. And then I was like, well, unfortunately, yesterday's price is not today's price.
Oh, yes.
Supply and demand, you know.
Yes.
The supply of signing agents has gone down and the demand has gotten higher. So
Yeah.
now the amount that I require is this. And it was about 25% more than I was asking for before. And he paid it because,
Yes.
like I said, he had reached the find out part of what happens when you mess around. So, you know, again, guys, I know things can be scary. I know we don't like conflict. I know it hurts. It hurts you to your core
Yeah.
when somebody basically says you're not worth it.
Yeah.
But you got to know your worth. You got to know that you are excellent at what you do. You have to believe in yourself. And if that means leaving somebody that you've worked with for a while, whether it's corporate, whether it's entrepreneurial, if it means leaving them and going out to find the people who respect you and what you bring to the table, you got to do it. You just got to do it. Love it.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. You listen, we are going to take a second part to this, Kendra. This is a lot of good feedback, and I know a lot of my listeners want to hear from you, and I don't want to rush through this, but let's join back again for next week. And I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will be hearing from Kendra next week. Thank you so much for joining the Empowered Career Woman podcast. Stay tuned for next week, you guys. Kendra is going to share more good stuff and great golden nuggets for you to take away. We'll talk to you soon.